Good morning. Uh, hey there, I'm Sensei Mish, and it is October 21st at 10:15. I wanted to come on a little bit earlier. Well, I wanted to try and be at 10, but I was running a little bit late today, and I went on my walk, hence the very sweaty shirt. Um, and so, therefore, that's why I'm late. But I didn't really announce I was going on at all. So this is probably a surprise. I'm going to try and come on every Friday. That's my goal, Friday at 10. Um, the reason I am inside today is because, well, on my way back, it started to rain. And, well, with my mother in law living here, I don't want to do it upstairs. I'd rather just do it in my office. So this is my office, and it's a shambles. You can even see how it's just kind of a mess. I've got my vinyl cutter, vinyl on the walls, just everything. It's a shambles. But you know what's really cool? Check this out. That's my Starship Enterprise collection from Eagle Moss, and then I even have my others here. You can see my wonderful cat. You can see this right there. That is, there's Dojo as he destroys. He actually knocked down the Shinzo, and it fell and it broke, but not in a spot where it can't be fixed. Because of course, they're just multiple pieces; they just glue together. So I just haven't had a chance to do that yet. But Dojo's an asshole, so it is what it is. Anyway, good morning, Rob. How are you, sir? Oh, it's been a really very awesome week. So, I think last week I told you that on a Wednesday. Okay, that's awesome. Instead of Wolf 359, it's Dojo 359. Yes, that's amazing. I love it. I love it. Okay. Um, maybe I can dress him up as a board for I'm sure they have cat related board costumes for Halloween, and then I can set up like a little starship thing and he'll walk through and knock things over. That's see, you got me going. Um uh uh Tom just let me know that there's no class today for him. So I don't actually have to teach until 5. Anybody uh, um, who wants to start online modular classes, um, I'll give you first couple classes for free. So just email me Sensei Mish at artistmartialarts.com. Just let me know. I'll give you the link. And Fridays, 5 o'clock on Fridays. Yeah, I said that. Yeah, 5 p.m. Pacific time on Fridays. I do an online modular class. I do have one group right now, but I am looking for more people. So I charge $109 a month for 2 people, and then each person after that is $25. So just to throw out there that you can do modular knife. I call it modular bolo. Just so it's kind of like a conversation starter, and that it doesn't freak out other people who want to do kick and punch. That, oh my gosh, there's a knife. So once they get integrated into our culture, then oh, a knife is a knife. It's it is what it is. So, but that also opens up that I'm not just doing modular knife, and it's a short knife, but it's also a big knife too, and I can do modular stuff or bolo stuff. Anyway, so last week I said that I got a student right away. Oh, Thank you very much, sir. I will probably butcher that name, so I'm not even going to try it. Well, I might try it. Baklev Dragoon. Okay, what country do you live in right now? What country do you live in? And thank you, sir. Hey, shameless plug. I've got this book coming out. It's got Czech Republic. Awesome. Well, thank you. Okay, no spam risks. Got a spam risk call there. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate you liking the show. It's great. As Rob said, Q Show Guide is a must. So check this out. This is a previous copy. I do not have the newest proof yet, but if you have not seen this, it's basically got a Q Show info page on whatever point. And then if there's an episode that has been filmed for it, there's a QR code you can just snap with your phone and go straight to the episode. And then it gives you an area for notes. And I have, all 361 regular points in here. And then I have about 12 of the, the extraordinary points. So, and then, I've got other random stuff in here. So this is on pre-order right now on my website. Not the Q Show Corner website. I should probably put something up there, but it's mainly, it was just way too long to get in there. So, Martiner. Okay. Hey, I don't know who you are. I love, and that sparks another total story. But I just want to say, let's see. Wow, nice idea for the book, merging it with YouTube vids. As I said, keep up the good work. Thank you, sir. New episodes are coming out. I have a bunch of stuff filmed. About half of it is edited, but by the time this goes out, this is there will be episodes that are linked in here that haven't even been shown yet. So I've got stuff going all the way into the new year, and I'm just going to keep on going. So please enjoy. Yes. Absolutely. As I squirrel bounce around. What was I saying? Okay. So, school stuff. Let's see. I got one new student, on Wednesday last week that I reported, just kind of set it up for our younglings thing. I have three more this last week. So, within a period of just about a week, seriously, I have I've gotten 4 new students, which is great. And I don't know where Dojo went. I hope he's not peeing in the corner anywhere. Anyway, so yeah, so today, basically it marks kind of like this great, just the end of a great week. Just really great. So plus I got all my notes in here and I ordered a new proof. So I should actually have that by, I think Amazon said it would be like on Sunday or something like that. So I'm super looking forward to it. I gotta have my new tea. So not only is it raining, but it's getting colder. So I have converted over to the warm tea in the morning. And of course I have to show off my new mug. When I was doing my year of Trek, and there was one scene with Kirk coming out, I love this design. So I was like, okay, when Chris Pines' Kirk comes out in Beyond with this mug, I was like, okay, must have. So um, found it online, paid way too much for it, but it's okay, it's worth it. But when it comes to this book, like the whole last week's episode was almost dedicated to what's going on with this and the promotion of the book. Got all my notes in it. I'm still waiting for a section from Mark Klein, Grandmaster Klein. So I want to get his pinpoint method in recorded correctly in the methods and theories, section. So he's going to send that to me, and so I'm waiting for that. But for the most part, the book is finished. So I am yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Originally, I wanted to basically ship on the 1st of December so we could get people could actually have it in their hands by Christmas. But it looks like it's going to happen quicker. So once because I also had to do some margin changes and all that kind of stuff. So with this new proof, I'm going to adding in the stuff for Klein stuff. I'll have his stuff in there. It shouldn't really make it any bigger. In fact, another story that I'm going to tell here in a little bit, I've actually had the idea of adding a couple pages. So I don't want to actually give away a date yet, but this could ship as early as the middle of November, if not earlier. So if you want to pre-order now. When I have an official date, I'll be like, hey, it's I'd get like one more week of pre-orders and then stuff will ship. So yeah, so that'll be a thing. And this is how, okay, I'm humbled at, what was that? I am humbled at the response that I've got from this. I had not shot any Q-Show Corner episodes for like a year. And over the years I've gotten different messages. Like, one guy reached out and thanked me saying that, he got some Q-Show instructor cert or some Q-Show ranking in whatever organization that he was part of. And he said that if it wasn't for my videos, he would not have been as successful as he was. Like, his instructor, like the panel, was very impressed with his knowledge of points and how he used them. And he said that it was my videos that he believed it was my videos that made that happen. And that's like, hearing stuff like that. That's just amazing. But, and I never thought in a million years that people all over the world would be watching my shit. Never in a million years would I ever thought that. I always wanted to teach martial arts. I always, I always wanted to, be that instructor that people were like, oh, hey, I want to host you at my school so you can teach whatever you're going to teach. And, I haven't really gotten that far. I mean, I have been invited to, when I go to Grandmaster Korn's things, I'm an instructor there. But but that's, I don't know, that's kind of like going to a family event and being part of family. I mean, that's, I feel very honored, because when I first met Master Korn, not that the respect has diminished. I have great respect for the man, but this was somebody that I was just like in awe of. It's like, oh my God, It's Grandmaster Corn. And he looks at me like, you're an idiot. Why would you ever think that? And it's funny because uh, uh, we, we have these ideas of people and, these grandiose, oh my God, that's so, that person is so awesome or whatever. And we meet them and we find out that they're human, just like us. And, it's pretty cool. So, but like this, Vaclav guy, from the Czech Republic. I've gotten an order from Denmark for this book. I've gotten an order from Norway from this book. Sensei Emmett, who watches my stuff, never met the person. He says he comes into Seattle every now and then, so hopefully I'll actually get to meet him. He's in Ireland. We've had people tune in from Japan. I look at my sales reports from my books on Amazon and it's one of those where it's just like I sell books all over the world. So I'm humbled at the response that I get from, people that I never thought I'd ever influence or they would even care what I promote. And so I was joking with a student last night. Her mom had said something. It was really funny, but it almost sounded like something it was almost like, oh, well, if she can do it, anybody can do it. Which my mom once said, if I could graduate from high school, anybody could graduate from high school, which isn't really the greatest thing you want to hear a parent say, but yeah, I mean, not being the greatest, student, anything like that, but like I'm just some dude in Vancouver, Washington that does martial arts and put my shit on the internet. And now I write books and sell books all over the fucking world. And I influence people, however much I influence them. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. On one of my I got a comment on one of my Q Show, it was one of my Q Show Corner episodes. Which one was it? Let me go to my comments here. Episode 130. It was from a mock. I think episode 29 was me doing the Klingon Makbara, and then there were a couple episodes where I threw in I think maybe 2, 3, 4 applications for the different moves. But anyway, so this one guy, he says, "In Gord we trust." I went to his site. It's kind of weird, but he comments. He says, "Do you think we could do a peaceful Makbara meditation like video? Maybe we could collab on something." So I don't know. I'm not really into collaborating, but couldn't hurt. So I'll reach out to him. We'll see where it goes. There was somebody else that actually had reached out because of the Makbara video and wanted to know, if I did online teaching, and to email her and let her know. I'm like, I don't know your email address. So and I don't know where it's listed on YouTube. So I just said, here's my email address, email me. And she never got back. So we will see. We'll see where all that goes. So there's really lots of cool things going on. I am currently listening to, and I had listened to this book a while ago. It's The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. It's an amazing book. I actually listened to it while building my, I always joked I was continuing Trump's work, but I have a fence between me and a neighbor. So I was basically replacing / repairing the fence. And part of it is a retaining wall, and then the fence is on top of it. So I was building a wall. Bad joke. Anyway, I listened to it while I was doing that. And of course, I get tidbits, but now I'm really, really listening to it. And it makes a lot more sense. So, um, you know, uh, playing an infinite game when it comes to being a martial artist, when it comes to, you know, when it comes to being a business person, that's the game we want to play. We want the businesses to last beyond our existence. When we look at it from a martial arts standpoint, if we look at it from a finite standpoint, black belt, I get my black belt and I'm done. No, there's so much more beyond black belt. Black belt is like the beginning. Somebody had said, what is it? Somebody had related getting your black belt to like graduating from high school or something like that. And then so it's one of those where it's just the beginning. So if we look at martial arts as an infinite game, um, we have our many goals along the way, but if we if we do it for whatever reason we do it for, if we want to become that competitive fighter and compete, if we want to open a school and teach other people and influence people, it's that infinite game. And nobody, like, it's like, oh, okay, well, one martial arts school can compete against another martial arts school. No, not really, because what you're offering is different from the other person. So so in reality, the martial arts schools should be working together. It's like, hey, this is what I offer. So, if somebody comes in and is like, this is what I'm looking for, don't try and sell them on your product, because you're just going to get somebody who's not happy. So you'd be like, oh, well, we don't offer that, but hey, this dude down the street offers it. I do that too. I do not teach sport martial arts, and I've had a couple people come in looking for that, and so I point them in the direction of other places. It's like, I don't do that, but this place does, or this place might. So it's just one of those things. So I don't know, just lots of thoughts going around my head. Now, jumping back to this QR code thing. Now, QR codes have been around for a long time. I think, let's see, Dan Anderson, if people don't know who that is, super Dan Anderson of Anderson Martial Arts. So he sent me something that he wrote, and in it, he actually did a little bit of research. So QR codes have been around since about 1994. I knew that they had been around for a while, but I didn't know how long. They were developed by Desno Wave Corporation in Japan in 1994. Okay. So, I remember using QR codes. I'd put all my contact information into a QR code, put it on the back of a business card. And, but if you didn't have an app to read the QR code, then there was no point in having a QR code. In the last couple of years, QR codes have just skyrocketed in use. You've got, especially during COVID, scan the QR code to get to a menu. So they have, hands-free stuff. You can just, you're using your own device. You don't have to dirty anything or spread any diseases. And, the genesis of the QR code for this is, I use QR codes on some of my posters. When you come to a booth of mine, you just scan the QR code. It'll take you to whatever I'm promoting at the time, whatever class you're scanning for. In fact, I was watching a video of a friend of mine. He has a new location opening. He's moving locations, but on his door, he just has his school name and logo, and then a big QR code. And I was like, wow, I think I really like that. So instead of having this piece of paper that's taped to my door of my schedule of my hours, because things change, back and forth, I could just put a QR code on there. Now, here's the question is, do I put a QR code that goes directly to the website, or does it go to a schedule on the website that they can then get to other places? My my wife. Oh, hello, Destiny. The what was I saying? The but anyway, so that's one of the questions that I'm getting to now. The reason for Danny's email, and in relationship to this, so he is, and I've promoted this before. He's doing this seminar on November 5th with Kelly Warden and Brian Zawolinsky. So you've got 3 10th degree black belts in modern arnis in one place all day long. It's going to be an amazing seminar. I'm closing my school on Saturday the 5th, so I can go to this. In fact, I've got a couple students that might be going. They have not officially committed yet, but regardless. Now, he wants, he, like everything he does, he records everything. So he's got, all the seminars, he videos, and then he puts on DVD or whatever. He had asked me, he said, hey, can you set up your camera and we'll set up one of your mics so we can just film at a different angle? And I was like, sure, I don't care. That's fine by me. So he said, so he wanted to get together, and, he has one mic. He has a couple mics. I have a couple mics, but he wanted to make sure that the signal didn't get messed up, so we could have a clear audio signal for each device. No problem. So he comes up, I think it was last Saturday. He comes up last Saturday and to do the test. We're talking. And so I show him, I'm like, hey, look at my new project. It's almost finished. I've been working on this forever. And so he's kind of looking through, and he's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And he notices, he goes, oh, why do you have a QR code there? He goes, oh, that's a QR code. And I'm like, okay, so check this out. So I tell him, it's like, because he thought it was really cool, information on each point. And then I tell him, I'm like, look, I said, it's there. So yeah, you've got the written word, but then you just scan it, go right to the video. QR, right to the Q Show Corner episode. And I said, even for the Q Show Corner episodes that were designed for online only or for DVD, I've got links in there too. And if you've bought the book, you'll have access to the video. That's the way it's set up. You don't have to pay for access. That was actually one of my thoughts, as a little side note, of still keeping it behind a paywall. So if you wanted to access those videos, but look, you're spending $40 on a book. I don't care. I'll give you access to the video. I don't care. So anyway, so I show him how it works, and blown away. Like Danny Anderson, blown away. Now, he and I have known each other for 21 years now, I think. For those of you who don't know our history, when I started actively studying modern arnis, my instructor had him in to because we all lived in the same city. But I had no idea who he was or what his status was in the martial arts or even modern arnis world. So he comes in to basically teach class, and he comes up to me, or I can't remember if he came up to me or if it was my instructor that came up to me, but basically they were like, it came down to, he had written a book years ago, very popular. He wanted to write more books. but he wanted to take advantage of the digital age of doing PDFs, selling them online, because at that time there was no KDP. You couldn't just do books on demand. You could self-publish, but it was very, very expensive. So he's like, I could just make PDFs, and we could sell them on a CD or for download. If somebody wanted to, log on and download a huge file. And at the time, it was still dial-up. We still had 56.6 baud dial-up. So internet was very slow. So, buying it on a CD, shipping a CD to somebody, that was kind of a way to go. So anyway, because I was running or had run I run a web design company for a long time, my own, doing websites and internet stuff. My instructor was like, Danny, he's the person you need to talk to. And the rest is history. So he and I, in fact, it's funny. I actually have, this is actually, just so happens I have this on the table. Was not planned. This book, Defanging the Snake, this was actually the very first book that we worked on in PDF format. And I'm in here too. It's mainly Tim Gustafson, but this is how old this book is. If I go to this one, so I'm Acrobat, Adobe Acrobat formatting, Mish Handworker. Okay. That's how long ago it was, because he didn't know how to do it in Acrobat formatting. And then I think in here he had, oh, maybe it's not. No, this is this. So anyway, so I was in here at one point on the original one where it was like as manager of Budo Online. I actually had a website, Budo Online, budoonline.com. And so it was I tried to event listing, school listing, that kind of stuff. But that was budoonline.com. That was kind of my website that I ran for a while. Did not blow up. Kind of wish it did, but it is what it is. But anyway, so that was the first book we worked on. That was like 21 years ago. So just an amazing experience. We've been friends ever since. So here we are. We're sitting in my school last Saturday, and I am blowing Dan Anderson away with a whole new concept of how to make books interactive, because DVDs are a thing. He sells DVDs all the time, but how many times have you purchased a DVD and then and you watch the whole, the technique thing, and maybe it didn't have good chapters, it didn't have good chapter readouts, and then you watch the whole thing and you're like, okay, where was that one technique that was really cool? And every time you put the DVD in, you spend all the time looking for that technique. Well, if we take the concept of a book with a QR code, where it's like, okay, here's the technique. You scan the QR code, takes you to a video, just like me. Pressure point, scan the QR code, takes you to a video. So Danny is taking this concept and running with it. And I would love to see how much, because this was a total lark. I was sitting at my computer trying to think of, how do I make this book a little bit more valuable to people? Not that it wasn't valuable to people, but I wanted it to be user-friendly. I wanted to do something different, being disruptive. And so I had this idea. What if I put a QR code out there? And so I reached out to a couple of my friends, including Rob, and I was like, what do you think about this? And people were like, dude, that's fucking amazing. That would be so cool. So telling Dan, blown away. So he's taking this and running with it. And I've been on the phone with him a couple times the last few days, basically kind of brainstorming of how he can do this. So take one of his books, okay, and uh, and then adding a QR code that links to a video of the topic that he's talking about for that technique or that concept, okay, of a book that already exists. So you might even have a book that's, because there's a couple books that he makes, they're pretty thick. But let's even say take this book. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Okay, so he's got Bande Bandai, that guy. Okay, and then taking an existing book and putting a QR code right here. So you not only see it in pictures, you scan it and you watch it so you can actually see the motion. Okay, he's doing that. He's taking, and I don't know, I can't remember exactly which book it is. It's one of his sparring books, but he's taking one of his books, one of his existing books, and he's doing two things, because he was like, well, maybe I should just do a quick guide. And in this what do you call it? In this conversation that I'm having with him, I was like, I asked him, well, when you make this quick guide, what's the process? What's the process that you're thinking of doing in moving this information from this into a quick guide? Because he was thinking about doing a quick guide with a QR code to the video. And I said, the way you've described how you're going to go through the process of making this quick guide, add like a couple minutes. I said, and he's making these QR codes that are like super huge. But I told him, I was like, my QR codes are like an inch by an inch. They're not that big. Phone picks them up just fine. And I was like, I said, so why don't you, since you're using the source book to make this quick guide, you just add the QR code in somewhere logical, so you don't have to reformat the whole book. You just put it in, find a logical place to put it in the big book. So when you republish it, you have everybody who buys the new book will have this newer, better product. So you have like a version 2.0. And then you have this quick guide. So you get the people who are the hardcore people who, they want the book. Okay. They have access to the videos. But then you have the quick guide for people who are intimidated by this really big, thick book. They get a smaller book, but they get the same information, but it's condensed. And so he's doing it. He's doing both. And we were talking on the phone this morning while I was on my walk. Just amazing. So what he emailed me this morning was a new author's forward to his new book, and totally gives me credit, like beyond. So in it, he talks about talking to Melanie Johnson about how he sells these DVD collections. And she's like, do people even have DVD players anymore? And so that was kind of bouncing around in his head. And then he's like, okay, let's fast forward 3 years. And, I'm sitting down with Mitch Handwerker and he's telling me about this thing. And so, so he basically gives me total credit for the concept. But which even got me thinking, like, future modular books, future karate books, like this is going to be, for me, this is going to be a main staple. In fact, I might upgrade my decoding kata book to include videos. So this is, for me, just this random idea of how do I make a good product that people will enjoy and be more user-friendly, be more interactive. Because I love the idea of books, but how get down. You ah, ah. He was squishing the Enterprise. So but it was one of those where it's just like, this total I couldn't even tell you where the idea came from. I just, knowing how I've used QR codes and be like, how can I make this product better? And now I have Dan Anderson. I mean, you think, oh, it's Dan Anderson. He's just Danny to me, on the floor, he is professor, but to me, he's just a good family friend. And that loves an idea that I take, and I'm glad he's running with it. So we'll see. Now, I told him, I said, this idea is so new. I don't know how many people are actually going to use it. And I don't really have any way to track it, except, of course, um, uh, uh, just looking at my viewership going up, because I will be able to see, I do get views on YouTube, but I don't get a lot. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes up. Chris, man, how you doing? Long time no see. I do see pictures. I see the family's good. Glad you're looking happy. Yeah, the next step is setting up a GoFundMe for the creation of an interactive Q Show app. We could do it. So I would not be opposed to that. I would go more of the route of Kickstarter, not really a GoFundMe, but a Kickstarter. In fact, Dan and I were talking yesterday, and he mentioned the concept of an app and asked if I knew how to make them. And I was like, well, I was like, Apple actually has a development software program that you can make apps. And I have, it's this. I said, but I just don't have the time, because, having done basic programming years and years ago, I know I could pick it up pretty well, but it's just one of those things that I was like, I don't have the time to dedicate. So as for the app, I would do it. I would find an app creator, so we could do an iOS and Samsung or Android, and then find out how much it might cost, what it would go into it, and then do a Kickstarter for it. Chris, yeah, man, we're doing well. I need to bring Rollin over so you can teach him some things. Yeah. Hey, dude. So we are right there, right on 136 in Mill Plain. If you reach out to me, we can, if you guys want to stop by and say hi, I will make sure that I'm there. In fact, I'm teaching a class tonight online at 5. Generally, Fridays are kind of my private lessons days. But we are open Monday, pretty much Monday through Thursday. I've got classes 5 until the end of the day. So how old is Rollin? Is he, because he's got to be, he's over 7 years old, right? Because if he would fit right in with, if he's between 7 and 12, or 7 and 13, he would fit right in with our youth program. Yeah, 9. Okay, yeah, 9, perfect. So we've got our youth program meets. I start everybody out in the foundation program, so foundation level. So that is 5. Let's see, on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5:45. Okay, so in fact, before I spew, so I recently redid my stuff. So let's see. So I can't keep the new schedule, even though I redid the schedule last month. It's still kind of wonky in my brain. Okay. But I will let you know the exact time here in a second. It's just how long does it? Okay. So all right. So yeah, 5:45. 5:45. So that's my basic class. Totally bring them in. I'd love to see you guys. Um, if you want, go to my website, artistsofmartialarts.com, sign them up for a free lesson. And you can come in, and I've got, I see, I have 2 boys in there right now that are in a foundation class. So I think one is, I think he's in 5th grade, and the other one is in 7th. So I can't remember where 9 comes into that, but yeah, 9's a great age to start. So I know that you guys were looking at different places, but yeah, bring him in. He can try out a free class, and if he loves it, I don't know, might give you a family discount. I might. I have to go through my wife for that one, but yeah. And regardless, even if he doesn't like it, I would love to see you guys. So because it's been way too long, we can talk about our old employer and how wonderful it was to work with them. Yeah. So, oh, and there's another thing. So talking about audiobooks. So I love audiobooks. Nope. I pay full price to help friends out. I appreciate that, sir. Yes. Gotta love Providence. Oh, wrong book. Here it is. Okay. So when Bram was here, we went down to Powell's, and I found out that they write Firefly books. Okay. So yeah. So huge Firefly fan. So I bought the first book. They didn't, I prefer hardbounds, but it is what it is. So I bought this. They didn't have it because there's actually I think 4 or 5 out now. Just happened, just by chance, my Audible membership allowed me to download this for free. Just a total lark. So I download it. I got about 20 minutes, 30 minutes into the book, maybe a little bit longer. I was listening to it on my walk. Maybe it's not the voice actor isn't horrible, because I've listened to some books with some pretty bad voice actors. He doesn't have a horrible voice, but I'm not digging the audiobook. So I might actually sit down and read this, because it's interesting. Like it's got this, typical Firefly story, and they do kind of poke and hear and all that kind of stuff to different things. So anyway, that is if you're into Firefly, they do have books. And if you have an Audible membership, there is potential that you could actually be able to download this for free, which was kind of cool. And it wasn't like an Audible original. It was just, hey, this is a group of books that we're allowing people to download. So just throwing that out there. Now on to Star Trek and Star Wars. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, what was it? The other night yesterday we had the 9th episode of Lower Decks. I really enjoy Lower Decks. This last episode though it kind of had it was interesting. There were some things that were just going on in the background that I was just like, really? So in a way, it was kind of predictable. That's probably why I didn't really dig it. But I did think I liked the idea of the uh, I did like so there were more ups than downs in this one, or more positives than negatives. But I did like the whole, they are a whole like second contact type of uh, of uh, of ship, but it was one of those where it wasn't like the initial second con like that. You have that first contact because the original, when they originally set it up, it was, the they had set it up where it's like, okay, you have the first contact, and then they go in there to make the second contact, to make sure that you know all the treaties are signed and everything is above board and all that kind of stuff. Well, the concept of and I can't remember how they phrased it. Was it? It was more. It was kind of that second contact thing, but it was just kind of going back and checking on those places that just hadn't been checked on. And so it was. They go back to this one. It was basically the one where you had David Marcus and Uakum from Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and they're this race that they live on two different planets, and one race is basically just feeding them drugs so they can basically control them. And there was like one ship that could get back and forth, and Picard just was like, yeah, nope, not going to fix it. We're not going to do anything. So then they're like, okay. And then we never hear from them again. And of course, that's episodic TV. We rarely go back to these other worlds. So so they go back, and I love how it's like, oh yes, the mural that they had. It's like, oh, the Enterprise is leaving, and it's like, oh yeah, and then yeah, we had like a decade of chaos. It's like this other one where everyone's like, rawr. Yeah, it was actually pretty funny. And then like now they're all into fitness, and I don't know. I got a kick out of that. And it really was, there weren't really a lot of Easter eggs, but there were a lot of good callbacks. And, and you would think that might be, that's a logical thing to do, is go back and check on some of these civilizations that previous ships had run into, just to make sure that everything's going okay. Good customer relations. Because what happened when Kirk dropped off 72 Supermen onto a planet and then never checked on them again? Okay. What happened? Yeah, we got the greatest Star Trek movie ever out of that. But needless to say. So, but the one thing I didn't like is that Captain Freeman was so paranoid about Mariner and her not talking to this reporter that was on board. And you would think so. And I don't know. For me, it was a little bit out of character for the captain. Like, yeah, she's going to be paranoid, but it is her daughter. Okay. And I would think that she would just be able to just go to her daughter and be like, hey, look, this person's on board. I really, please just behave yourself if you can. Just instead of, oh, I'm going to cancel pie eating day and I'm going to do this and I'm going to restrict that, I'm going to put you on a new schedule. And then, then she gets demoted, kind of demoted. She gets sent off to Starbase 80, but, which just amazing how, I didn't even notice this. There was another show that noticed this, that Starbase 80 had old next gen communicator pins, not the current ones. So so it's like they had kind of pointed out that's how low that what is it called? That's how low on the totem pole Starbase 80 was. And then she ends up quitting. But it comes out that this interview that, or she gets sent to Starbase 80 because this reporter ends up saying, "Oh yeah, this is all the stuff that's been happening on the Cerritos," and it all gets blamed on Mariner. But it was not Mariner. Mariner was like, "Yeah, no, this is the greatest place in the world. I love this ship." And so, I don't know. It was, but. And then who was it? There was somebody online had pointed out that it's kind of becoming a trope with Lower Decks is at the end of an episode when they get in trouble, who's going to fly in to save the day. And so of course they get into some shit with the Breen, which was kind of cool. And then this Texas class drone comes in to help them. So I didn't necessarily see that as predictable, but now that trope has been kind of pointed out, I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of a thing. But it did, when hearing that Mariner had resigned from Starfleet, I automatically went back to one of the first episodes of the season to say, oh, she is now with that Vosh lady character. I can't remember her name, but I'm just going, it's kind of like Vosh. And now she's with her, and boom, there we go. So let's see. All the positive coming together they have done the last season was kind of forgotten this episode. Yeah, I would agree. So, it wasn't a horrible episode. I mean, I think like when the Breen shot at the saucer section, it actually looked like they cut right before they animated the people getting sucked out into space. Like, it's like, I think people almost died in this episode. And we almost saw them die in the episode. But then again, it's not really a cartoon for kids. Yeah, so there's that. And then I'm staying up to date on Quantum Leap. So I'm fully up to date on it. The show isn't horrible. But it's one of those where it's like there were some things that they do where I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Or they make that connection of like, oh, that makes sense. So I still want to know when they leap into somebody. Okay. When Ben leaps into somebody, where's this other person going? Do they just not exist? Like where is he jumping? Because in the original show, I said this last week, in the original show, they had a, when they leapt in, the person that they were leaping into leapt out and into a, I can't remember what it's called. I think they called it a waiting room, something like that. Where are these people? Why are they jumping in? I really liked, not this last episode, but the episode before that. And I like, even though I'm rewatching, I did not make this connection at all, not at all. So it was one of those where it was like, I'm obviously not a super freak because I didn't even question what it was. But Winston Zeddemore, I can't remember the actor's name. But the guy who plays Magic, it's his nickname. Sam Beckett actually leapt into him in the original series, and they showed, like, the minute he mentioned, like, when he's talking with the resident, I can't remember what his name is or her name or whatever, but he's talking with this one person saying, hey, you know, this is what I experienced, and I believe, and, you know, when I got my hands on the paperwork, you know, I believe that Sam Beckett leapt into me. And, like, I was like, oh my God, I know that episode. We just watched that episode. And it was, you know, because Lisa and I are watching old Quantum Leap episodes. And I was like, oh my God, that's right. That was his nickname. His nickname was Magic. And it was like it was a really, really cool connection. Not just that, that they're bringing Al, you know, they give reverence to Al and all this kind of stuff, that they're like, there's like, it was, like there was something that he felt like there was, like, he talked about what he experienced. Now, he does not remember being in the waiting room. And I don't think that anybody would remember being in the waiting room, because that would be weird. But just the idea that somebody was leaping into him and he was stepping aside is kind of how he described it. But, like, it was freaking cool. I just thought that was, what a great addition to this. And then, of course, now he's leaping. Ben is leaping outside his life. We get that in one of the episodes, and now he's leapt back to 1859 or something like that in the last episode. And before that, but of course, at the end, you have this other guy who comes up and knows exactly what his name is. And he's like, stop following me. So it's like, okay, plot complication. So it's not great. Like, I still have issues with it, but it's not bad either. It's not, it's still kind of, it's like, okay, I kind of want to watch it to see what happens next. It's kind of like that. So yeah, so we have all that now. At least I think, I think I have, and I'm going to get rid of these. No, wrong folder. Can't remember what folder it is. Of course, I didn't prepare it for today. We're social media. And we go down. Let's see how close I am here to, or how far I got, because I tried to put stuff up that I knew was coming up. So, all right. Is that, oh my gosh, that's old stuff. Did I even, I don't think I exported it. Ah, crap. Okay. So, let me see really quick here. File. Let me do, okay. Let me export this really quick. Sorry. 72. I thought I had done it, but we'll get back into here really quick. So anyway, we have some really cool things coming up on TV that I'm kind of looking forward to, and we will, because we got, We got Bad Batch coming up. Tales. Okay, yeah. I was just going to say that Tales of the Jedi. Oops. No, I didn't want to remove. I want to remove from studio and then slides and then delete and then add. Sorry, I'm talking myself through this. This is processing. Okay, here we go. Okay, so on Monday, the 24th, we have Quantum Leap episode 5. It might be episode 6. I can't remember. I don't know if this show's on regular TV, but it's on Peacock. That's where I watch it. We on the 26th. I don't know why I have Andor episode 7 because we just watched episode 7. Or maybe we haven't watched it. I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, this last episode of Andor was just amazing. On the 26th, we also get Tales of the Jedi. All I knew coming in was that it was starting on the 26th. But according to Star Wars Theory, because I watched one of his videos this morning while I was doing the books, school books, is that all of the episodes are dropping at once. We get all of Tales of the Jedi at once, which is so cool that we don't have to wait. We can watch it all at once. I'm going to be all over that shit. I am so looking forward to this because this is, yes. And Star Wars Theory is on point. He would know this stuff. Okay. So yeah, we get this stuff all at once. This is like, I talk about how the Bad Batch is like, Bad Batch season 1 was essentially Clone Wars season 8, and that, season 2 is going to be season 9. This is like Clone Wars addendum. Seriously, that's kind of how I'm looking at this. So I am super freaking excited. I'm really looking forward to the expansion of the stories, and I'm super duper Star Trek fan. But what they're like, Tales of the Jedi, I'm so looking forward to that. And Andor, if you have not watched Andor, you have got to watch Andor. I've seen like people talking shit about it online, but it is by far the best Star Wars ever put out. It is. I mean, it's not for kids. It is for the adults that used to be the kids. I think I've said that before. This show's amazing. And I read something somewhere that basically they're saying that it's doing as bad as Book of Boba Fett. I'm sorry. If you don't like Andor, there's got to be a problem with you, because this is truly getting into the lore of Star Wars. In this last episode, we get another character from Clone Wars cartoon now in live action, and not just Clone Wars cartoon, Rebels cartoon. We get to see him live action. And so, it's just, Rob, you put it perfectly. Andor is a Star Wars that we need. Shows the darker side of the rebellion. Yeah, because war is not pretty. And if you're going to stand up, in fact, they'll probably tag me for this somewhere. I'll probably, if I'm not already on somebody's watch list. But honestly, when it comes to a people standing up to their government for the atrocities or to make life better. Basically, saying, hey, because the Constitution was written to basically let the people take control back over the government if the government got too much. Andor is kind of like, hey, this is how you do it. Like, this is like here are the steps that you take to create a rebellion. It's just, yeah. So I'm loving it. It's paced really, really well. I can't, it's freaking amazing. Okay. Now the 26th we get Andor, I think it's episode 8, Tales of the Jedi. And then the next day we get Prodigy. So my thing is I've been calling it season 2, but apparently it's the second half of season 1. So I don't know. Could be it could be 1.5. It could be season 2. I don't know. All I know is that we get new Prodigy on the 27th. So we'll see if, for me, Prodigy kind of started off a little bit rough. But it is, but the last couple episodes, I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting it now. And I know it's made for little kids, but it's, I don't know. There were just some things where it's almost like maybe I'm not supposed to like that character, or I'm not supposed to like what's going on because of the bigger message, that kind of thing. And then, of course, looking forward into the next year, which we're only a few, like we are 2.5 months away from 2023. So we get Bad Batch, January of 2023. We were supposed to get it back in August, but they put that off. So I don't know if we actually have a date yet for that. February 16th, we do have a date for Picard season 3. So I'm super interested in what's going on with that. And Rob sent me an article. I did not read it, but it has to do with Worf's pacifism. But and Rob kind of wrote a note along with it. I'll make a point to actually read the article, but it's and actually I'll let's see. What did Rob write? So with it, he says, Worf is a pacifist in New Picard. I'm good with that. Doesn't negate his warrior past, but in my eyes, strengthens his warrior resolve in a more martial way. He's no longer seeking battles, glory, or death, but my guts says, why shy away from it? Worf has always had this drive to be a perfect Klingon, and now with the wisdom and experience, he sees the folly of that way of life. So I agree. When we look at just being a martial artist, like I have a new student. His mom was wary of him getting into the martial arts, and just because he's an angry young man. And I told her that when I was young, I was a very angry young man. And it was martial arts that tempered my anger, because I understood the more and more I learned about hurting people and me just being a gentle person in nature, naturally, I may have wanted to hit people, but now I can hit people and really hurt them. So I'm going to not do that. Like, I'm going to be that more humble person. I'm not going to go rush out and try and fight because, and it tempered my anger. So when you look at this pacifist Worf, it makes total sense that as he's gotten older, that he's I agree with Rob. You know, you look at it as you know, when you're younger, you go out, you're looking for fights, you're looking to prove yourself, you're looking to be, you know, this warrior Klingon. But in reality, it's like, what does that serve? And it might actually be that that influence of his human family is that, yes, you are this, you know, you can be a warrior and you can be peaceful at the same time. Like I tell my students, it's like, I want you to use this knowledge to never start a fight. But if a fight happens, you will end it. That's it. Like, like I'm not looking for a fight. Like when I go out, I'm not looking for a fight. Even when I went to work, I was not looking for a fight, but I knew I was going to be going home at the end of the day in one piece. And so my goal was to get out of there in one piece. And if it had, or in as, you know, as many pieces as the least amount of pieces as I could get. So it's one of those where it's like, if something happens, I will win. Like I will fight. It's like the you know, people sometimes attribute this uh, uh, this quote um, to Rory Miller, but it's like, and right now I'm paraphrasing, but basically it's like, um, uh, um, the only way to combat evil um, is with good men who are capable of violence. And so it's just one of those where it's like, no, it's, you know, sometimes you just have to be violent. You're not looking for it, but sometimes you just have to be. And that's just the way of the world. Um, though martial arts, it is hope that you will become skillful, powerful, and secure enough to be gentle, considerate, and peaceful. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's, you know, that's something I put on all of my certificates now. So is that quote from Jack, because that's true. So anyway, so I'm looking forward to Picard season 3. I'm looking forward to seeing, is that how they portray you know, that gentler warrior that Worf has become. And then, of course, Mandalorian, we get that in February. Looking forward to that. And then Ahsoka and Discovery season 5 further on. I heard that Discovery season 5 isn't going to be towards the end of 2023, but we'll see. So, wow, I've been chatting away. There's a lot of stuff. I'm just trying to cram a whole week into one day. Let's see. Oh, one project that I'm kind of doing on the side as I do stuff is I am working on a version 2 of my neck pinch book. I have thought of different things of wanting to I want to make it better. It's like it's like this book. It's like this book. Danny made this book. It was a fantastic book, but then you go back and you're like, oh, well, those pictures weren't very good, and you know, that was kind of off, and I didn't use the right font. And so he went back and redid it and put it into, you know, cover form like that. Neck Pinch was my first book, and I don't know when a version 2 is going to come out, but I have these ideas that I'm working with. So one of the things that I've done though is I want to have a chart in the back of the book that has all of the episodes of the episodes where a Vulcan neck pinch was used. Okay. There's a website. I don't know the domain name or anything like that, but it's a website called Memory Alpha, right out of Star Trek. And it's a massive website that has all of the Star Trek information. And they actually do have this section on the Vulcan nerve pinch. And they have the episodes where the Vulcan nerve pinch has been used. So they already kind of have that information. I wanted to go even a further step. So I am using this as a reference to kind of speed up my research, but, and I've made it all the way through the original series. There are episodes where, because they say, oh, well, it was used in this episode, but they don't have a timestamp. They don't have how many times. There are times where it's been used multiple times in an episode, like what's it called? City on the Edge of Forever is a good example. Spock uses it on McCoy before they go back in time, and then he uses it again on the cop. So hey Jim, Master Corn, how are you doing today, sir? So I want mine to be more detailed. Like, here's a timestamp. I actually have it as I have this spreadsheet going right now where it has, and it's actually on my master list of Star Trek episode thing where it's on there. So I have, because I have this whole list, because I did, the Year of Trek book, which I'm also redoing, but to make it more general. But on my, specifically for my neck pinch book, I've got but anyway, so like I have timestamps, I have who did it and on who. Okay. And then I have what kind, how I've named the neck pinches, what kind of neck pinch he uses, that person uses. So getting to my point, there is in the 5th episode of Deep Space Nine, episode Babel, it says that a neck pinch is used in that episode. So I go and watch the episode, not knowing where it is. I just turn it on. I watch the whole episode. I never saw a neck pinch. Am I missing something? Does Memory Alpha have bad information? So Rob, or anybody who's watching this, go watch the 5th episode of Deep Space Nine. The episode's named Babel. If you see a neck pinch, let me know around what time frame it is, because maybe I missed something. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. Not worth a damn, need to hit somebody. Well, I think Graham is in Arizona, so you can't hit him. But I hope things are, I hope things go better for you. Oh, and also here's another project, because I'm working on all these different projects. For those of you who don't know, I don't know if I've actually, now it's more public, just because I've actually been I've been recording stories for Jim's book. So Jim, Master Corn, and I are working on essentially I want to say it's essentially a book of stories and of funny martial arts stories where he's kind of at the center of it, or things that have happened in or around the martial arts for him. And so I don't know how many hours or minutes, but see, Jim, if you're still watching, Rob, he wants this book too, just like we were talking about. All right. So I'm super excited. So I don't know how many hours. I haven't really checked how many hours I have of audio, but I have about 22,000 transcribed words so far, where the computer has transcribed the audio. I am now going through and editing, turning this one massive sentence into paragraphs and making it a little bit more readable, but still sound like Jim or whoever's told the story. So most of it is going to be Jim, but we are going to have sections where other people are telling their versions of a story that include Jim. I have finished what I consider chapter 1, and it is I have to tell people I feel so humbled that Jim would allow me to be part of this journey of his of creating this book, because listening to it's not just listening to him tell stories, because some of his stories are fucking hilarious, but it's one of those where it's like, hey, this is how I got into the martial arts. So here's this guy, world-renowned martial artist. He's taught all over the world. He's influenced, the martial journeys of thousands of people, and influenced probably, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of people personally, just because when you get to know Jim's just a big teddy bear. I love Jim to death, but it's one of those where here's this 10th degree black belt. He's been studying almost all of his life, most of his life. And it's like, this is how I got started. And it's like kind of giving you like this personal insight into this, because we all have that. This is what started me in the martial arts stories. Yeah. Okay. So he says, not a how-to book, but funny stuff that happened in my martial arts and teaching Kyusho. Yes. Yeah. So it's, I had joked originally when we first had this idea, and that it was like, bedtime stories by Jim Korn. And he and I have played around, talked about different ideas for the names, the title of the book. We don't have an official name, but we do have a working title that we're working with right now. And, but let's just say this, we'll just put this out there. If you are watching this, if you've gotten this far, because we're at like an hour and a half right now. If you've gotten this far into this audio, into this podcast, if you have not recorded something for me, and you have a story that involves Jim, funny, email it to me, and I'll put it in the book. So, because we have some people who are just like, I'm not a really good storyteller, but I can write perfect. We've got a couple people like that. So I'm just write it, email it to me, and we'll see about getting into the book. So I think this is a great project. This book is not going to come out anytime soon. We are not going to rush this. So, this is probably like this one book I helped work with a couple people on for Bram. It took like a year, like a year and a half to really get the book where we wanted to. Sorry, I'm kind of squirreling because Dojo is looking at a squirrel. I know you just want to go out there and play with the squirrels, you little kitty. Yeah. So we're not going to rush this. So when it is done, it'll be ready. So yeah, but that's a project that's going to be in the works. So, or that is currently being worked on. All right. Jay Still, hi Sensei. I hope you're doing well, sir. I met GM Bram recently. He is awesome. Having a hard time contacting him for training, though. Maybe I got on his nerves or something. Okay. Hey, so Jay, why don't you? Well, let's see. Looks like you are on here. So that's my email address. You're on YouTube right now, so you saw it pop up. I'm going to put it on there. So so that's my Sensei Mish at artisanmartialarts.com. Email me, and then we'll get to talking. I actually have an online class on Fridays if you want to join, but we can talk about trainings and other stuff. So Jay, just email me and I will get back to you. Okay, sir? All right. Any stories about me or with me would be great. Yes. Anything. And Jim is giving me permission. So the working title right now is The Sound of One Hand Clapping. And a couple of the titles that he's like, there was one title that we were talking about. It was just such a, like, lots of deep meaning in it, but it was kind of a dark title. But The Sound of One Hand Clapping is, I think fits better. Just because what is the sound of one hand clapping? Well, it's the hand coming up in, like, that hand coming up into stomach 5. So, so I envision the cover of this book with Jim's hand coming up on somebody, up under somebody's jaw, just like that, almost that from his perspective of coming up. So it's taking the time to get that photoed, or to get that in a good high resolution photo, so we can for the cover. That's at least how I envision the cover. It could be completely different, but that's kind of what what I'm going for right now. Yeah, no problem. Absolutely. So I look forward to getting an email from you, sir. But yeah, so I'm lots of things are going on. So, okay. It has been an hour and a half. I actually have to get stuff done today. So, I guess this is what happens when I don't come on every day and I just leave it to a Friday. But for right now, I think we're just going to keep it on Fridays. But I thank you all for tuning in and commenting. And also, if as final plug for the book, this book, go to Artisan Martial Arts, hit the Pro Shop tab. You can buy this pre-register or pre-order. Books are going to go out sooner than later, but I will end up having a whatchamacallit. When I actually have a final date, I'll let people know. So, like I was saying. So, okay. Yeah, that's all the news that's fit to print. If you're watching this offline, and have gotten this far and still have not liked, shared, subscribed, bought a book, sent me news on Bram on Jim Korn, if you have any stories, do so now. Okay. And I will see you guys next Friday. We'll talk. We will get the, I don't know. We'll get it going. you got to watch Star Wars, Andor, Tales, Quantum Leap. Watch all that stuff because we'll be talking about that stuff next Friday. So there we go. Love you, and I know I'm babbling. So